As you can see, we have a little visitor.
Yes, apparently one half of Deuces and Fours has insisted on this camera time. Not even to think I would say anything, just to show off for the ladies. I don't know. Are you ready for another Q&A?
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty, let's get started then. At TN Heel wants to know, and I'll warn you beforehand, I can't help it if he gives you any ball shots or anything. I'm not going to force him off the table because he'll just come right back up anyways. He's Deuces and Fours. See, I can't help it if you get pictures of his balls. Don't be jealous. At TN Heel, who is the greatest British band of all time?
That would be the Beatles.
I would either say Oasis or Queen. Why the Beatles?
Well, because they've had a lot more. I think it's just like a lot of the impact that they've had on popular music.
I suppose they're one. I know there are plenty of other great British bands. I say Oasis because otherwise Mr. Pauken may very well come on the Peterborough Ferry all the way here to Iowa and try to hurt me. And Queen's a band that I enjoy as well. At I Am It Factor Ben, will the Raptors or Wizards ever become good and how? I don't know if John Wall is truly a franchise player. I wonder if he's kind of just one of those stat filler type players. As far as, don't jump up there. He's going to jump up there, isn't he?
I'm thinking that's what he's thinking.
Yeah, he sure is. The Wizards need to find a really big time number 2 option. I think that would help them. Or if they don't think John Wall is going to be a franchise player, they need to find a real number 1 option and hope that he's a really strong number 2. Raptors, I don't know if the Raptors are ever going to be good. Maybe they will at some point, but I just don't care that much about the NBA anymore. I'm sorry, I really don't. It's a boring product.
No, the Raptors haven't been any good since they had Vince Carter.
Had to bring up that name, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, they weren't terrible for some of the time that Bosch was there, but they weren't exactly great either. At CM_Goon, bye, Precious. What Vince McMahon match was your favorite?
Oh, I think one of my favorites was the one against Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania.
I will go with favorite Vince match. I'll be kind of sick with this one. 2003, when he wrestled Taker in that Buried Alive match. I want to say that was Unforgiven 2003 because it represented the end of Biker Taker once and for fucking all, and was the symbolic moment that we were starting to get to the return of Dead Man Taker, the real Undertaker. It's one of my favorites for that specific reason. Vince has always, I think, been underrated as an in-ring performer.
I think he has been.
I think he's a really good performer. He's not a great, technical artist. He's not necessarily even a great athlete, but he always has that ability to get his match over. He always has that ability to find a way to entertain the fans. I don't think you can ever think of a Vince McMahon match that was total shit, with maybe the most notable exception being him versus Brett at WrestleMania 26, because that was god-awful. At Sparverine, how high in celebrity pro wrestling moments does Chuck Norris, super kicking Jeff Jarrett at Survivor Series 1994 rank? Very high on the list. Near the top. One of the greatest moments ever in life, period. At X, Little Nick X365. Do you think they'll ever actually build another Money in the Bank winner up like they did The Miz in 2010?
Possibly. It depends on who they would put the Money in the Bank on.
Yeah, if you had to guess right now, who would you say would be one or two of the guys that would be most likely to get the Money in the Bank in 2013?
In 2013.
So this year.
I would like to see Sandow have a chance at it.
Okay. Anybody else you could think of that stands out to you?
Well, if they were to break off the Shield, maybe one of those guys.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know why they don't do a better job of building up guys when they win Money in the Bank. It's like they start making them jobber bitches until they cash in. I don't understand that. At Derpshro, do you think the WWE should ever let somebody end the Undertaker streak to get him over as a big-time star?
Oh, I don't think so. The only way I could see them doing it maybe is if if you got some young big heel coming up, and they really want to get him over, but otherwise I can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to do it, if you were to have somebody on the streak, that person would have to become the number one person in the company. And as long as John Cena's around, unless it was John Cena, which it wouldn't work if he was a babyface, you would either have to have John Cena already be heel, or you'd have to turn heel as a result of it. And even then, you kind of question the logic of doing it. It would have to be somebody that would be younger, that you could potentially get 10 to 20 years of mileage out of this feat occurring. And having somebody like, let's say, CM Punk end the streak is fucking stupid, because he's a guy I believe is close to his mid-30s. You're only going to get a few years of mileage out of it. And CM Punk is never going to be the top guy in that company as long as John Cena is there. So you're minimizing the impact of somebody ending the streak anyways. In theory, yes, somebody should break the streak because it's giving back to the business. You get something back for all those years of investment. But if it's not right, don't do it. And I just don't see how it's going to be right to do it. I don't. I'm sorry. Especially as long as Cena is going to be the top guy. There's nobody else that, no matter what, is ever going to be pushed above him. That's just the way it is. At the Schleg Mommy, wise ass Twitter username, to the Schleg Daddy. What was your dream job as a kid, and did you ever want to become a wrestler? My dream job as a kid. Number one dream job would have been to be a sports broadcaster. Did you ever want to be a wrestler? Sure. Even as a grown-up kid, like at age 29, 30, 31. At John Vente. Question for all involved with the show, which is just the two of us right now. Who is your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Never really watched them too much, so I don't really have a favorite.
Who did I say before? I didn't like Leonardo. I want to say Donatello was my favorite. I think that's what I've said before. If I've said something different before, I apologize. But I never really did like Leonardo that I can remember. I don't think I was huge on Michelangelo either. I believe it was Donatello and Raphael. There you go. At Blue Goblin 01, who would you book to be the absolute final opponent for The Undertaker?
The absolute final opponent for The Undertaker. Well, obviously, I'd like to see Sting, but that wouldn't happen just because he's too old and he's not that good in the ring anymore. But as far as the absolute final opponent, that's currently there. Can't go wrong with Cena.
One last victory for Taker before he retires.
Yes.
I wish it would have been Triple H, because if they're going to talk about it was an end of an era match, then it'd be the end of an era, meaning maybe neither one of those guys should ever wrestle again, or at least one of the two. At JRoll1279, why does the WWE talk about Kerry Von Erich, who killed himself, but not Chris Benoit? Okay, let's get something completely straight here. Kerry Von Erich committed suicide, as did people such as Eddie Graham, and years later his son Mike Graham. There have been many other people that have committed suicide. The difference between committing suicide and only killing yourself, as opposed to killing your wife
and your son
allegedly, and then killing yourself, going batshit crazy and deciding to do it. And no, don't give me that pathetic excuse that I've seen in the comments before, talking about, well, he didn't choose to do it, da, da, da. Ultimately, if he did it, he chose to do it. I don't care what his state of mind was. The bottom line is, nobody forced him to allegedly kill his fucking wife, kill his damn kid, and then kill himself. That's why they don't talk about Chris Benoit. Kerry Von Erich committing suicide and taking his own life is something entirely different. Don't even compare the two. At LPVO, or LP Evo, whichever one, did Booker T versus Buff Bagwell back in 2001 on Raw, did that really kill the Invasion storyline?
you can probably make a case for it.
Yeah, it didn't help.
Yeah, because you didn't see Buff Bagwell
He was fired immediately afterwards. I'm surprised Booker T ever recovered from that. That's a testament to Booker T, the fact that he ever recovered from that, because that was god-awful. That's one of the worst TV matches I've ever seen. I'm sure that didn't help. It couldn't have helped. It's what really killed the Invasion angle, though, were most of the top stars from WCW in particular weren't there for the Invasion angle. Period. I mean, that's what killed the Invasion angle, above all else. But that match didn't help. At Mr. Pio 1, if Undertaker could get 5 more WrestleMania wins, Which 5 wrestlers would you guys pick for him? A lot of Taker questions in this one.
Yeah.
So let's assume that we're doing this like right after WrestleMania 20. So let's come up with WrestleMania 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. The next 5 opponents. And we don't care about the order. Just name a guy.
Punk.
Cena.
Lesnar.
Okay. Trying to anticipate guys that would be built up enough. Maybe Ryback.
Another person. Maybe a Sheamus?
Maybe an Orton or somebody. Something along those lines. Or maybe there would be somebody else at WrestleMania 32, 33 that isn't even in the picture yet. There's got to be top guys. At Javi L. Artabo, which 5 guys of any era would you pick to face the OTRS crew in a traditional Survivor Series elimination match?
5 guys? Jarrett.
Now, we want to ensure that, because we would have full creative control, as a result, we would want to make sure that we'd have 5 guys that we'd have full confidence that we could beat and 5 guys that we didn't like at the same time. Some conglomeration, configuration. Sin Cara, because he probably tears patella tendon running into the kid, running out of the or something. Or, even getting tagged in. So we'll go Jeff Jarrett, Sin Cara. Dino Bravo because he's dead. Who else?
Somebody else that we could beat that we don't like.
I take my chances with Greg Gagne. All that time as a little kid in the late 80s having Greg Gagne forced down my fucking throat by his dad's company. Ugh. That's 4.
How about X-Pac?
Sean Waltman. That's fine. You expected some big star-studded lineup. You weren't getting it from us. I'm sorry. We're about winning. At Tom Scholes 5. Why do so many things piss off Charlie Haas? I don't care. He's dumb.
And besides, I do it better.
Bingo. At Matt_Wall7H. Do you think WWE should have a War Games themed pay-per-view that would replace Hell in a Cell?
It'd be interesting. And if you can make 2 teams of 5 guys apiece.
I would be okay with the War Games concept being incorporated in WWE. I'm in fact surprised you own the rights to all of these WCW and ECW names and gimmicks and etc. Why you wouldn't use more of these things? Since you own the rights to them, you might as well get your money's worth out of owning the rights to them. At Batman Goner, what is the worst match you have ever seen?
The worst match I've ever seen? Oh, jeez. Well, I think Vince versus Brett at WrestleMania 26 was it 26? At 26, yeah, I think that would rank right up there.
Brock versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 20 ranks very, very high up on the list. It's hard when you're talking about the worst match you've ever seen. The Finger Poke of Doom, January 4th of 99. That's obviously... I mean, it's very subjective about what you're talking about when you talk about the worst. I mean, is it just ultimate train wreck shit? Is it... You could say Sting versus Jeff Hardy at Victory Road 2011, because that would definitely rank up there.
Well, if you're looking at train wrecks, maybe Steiner against Sin and
No, that is epically awesome.
Oh, that's true.
That's epically awesome. Maybe Jarrett versus Hogan at Bash at the Beach 2000.
Yeah,
that was terrible. But those are more booking decisions than matches. In terms of train wreck value and just being pure shit, especially with huge expectations, I'll stick with Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20 with Austin as a special guest referee. PU. That was the shits. And that may very well be, out of all the terrible matches, all the great matches I've ever seen, that may stick out in my mind the most as the shittiest wrestling match I've ever seen in my entire life. I know there are a lot that I'm forgetting about, that Mark's forgetting about. So share some of the worst matches you've ever seen down below in the comments section.